Hello. Right, well, I'm back and I'm going to be talking, surprise, surprise, about Ukraine and this time the mainstream media, in particular the USA mainstream media, because that's developing a particularly interesting role in this whole grisly theatre. Okay, so I've been off for a couple of days with a sore throat. And while I was hors de combat with a sore throat, it gave me a little time to do some channel flipping on YouTube. And as I watched various things I often don't really get round to, I started to become increasingly more angry with Putin than I was before. You see, since the media wing of the Democrat Party, CNN and MSNBC, well, is there a difference between those guys? I can't see it. Anyway, whatever. Since they've been pushing the Russian enemy idea ever since Trump got into office, this latest conflagration has been an absolute gift for them, hasn't it? Their figures were tanking after Biden got in, and they've been struggling for months now. And a good war was just what they needed to bring the punters back. Does anyone remember the movie Citizen Kane? Well, since there are some younger folk watching this channel, I shall explain that Citizen Kane was a film about a newspaper tycoon who used his paper to start a war which would send his circulation figures up. And if you haven't seen that film, your education is incomplete. Okay, so before I continue, I want to make sure that you understand my position, which is as follows. The Russians marched into Ukraine. Whatever you think about provocations, economics, or personalities, the Russians launched a war of conquest with the aim of subduing and absorbing another country. This is my opinion. Whatever comes next is founded on that opinion. You are welcome to your own opinion, but just so long as you know where I stand. Right, to continue. The Russians launched a war of conquest against Ukraine, and the Russians turned out not to be terribly remarkable soldiers. In fact, they turned out to be remarkably terrible soldiers, and not only embarrassed themselves as a military force, but embarrassed all of humanity with the reminder of just how appalling civilized, reasonably well-educated people brought up in a generally Christian environment can be. I know that there's been some speculation that many of the soldiers are Chechen, but sorry folks, for once we can't blame it on the Muslims. Ultimately, the commanders are not Chechen, and they're encouraging, allowing, or outright ordering their men to do the dreadful things that they've done. The outdated, inefficient, and wantonly brutal battle tactics were devised by Russians. The total destruction of living environments was devised by Russians. And the Russian Orthodox Church is officially, at any rate, behind or on board with this whole special military operation. So yes, the Russian army is an embarrassment to us all of humanity. But I digress. CNN and MSNBC is what we should be talking about. Well, while we here in the UK, and I thought the BBC was bad enough, but we're getting reports of atrocities, at least with a sort of general air of some sort of detachment. What's going on in the USA with their media, or your media, if you're in the USA, is just horrifying. Fox is pretty excitable, and I'm losing patience with that. Did any of you see Hannity's interview with Penn? It was just diabolical. Hannity couldn't seem to ask a single question without bringing Reagan or Trump into it. What do they have to do with taking aid to refugees? It was a complete disgrace, and when Penn said he held off for a while before accepting the interview because he didn't trust Hannity, by the end of that interview I absolutely 100% agreed with him. He should never have sat down at the same table with that dreadful man, and I wouldn't have said that a week ago. Anyway, CNN and MSNBC are even worse, if that's possible to imagine. They spend their entire time echoing the hysterical, wild and completely undiplomatic accusations, amounting in many cases to calls for assassination of your own dear President Biden. It's like your whole country has been taken over by a bunch of student radicals, which I suppose it has. Putin's a complete rat. But cornering a rat was never a good option now, was it? What does Biden think he's doing? Oh, yeah, scratch that. Why are his handlers actually letting him out? Perhaps it's because they have the feeling, as well as the MSNBC, that if a nuclear device went off in Eastern Europe, the USA would be safe from fallout, with it being so far away. I assume that most of the sort of people who watch this channel, who tend to be a bit more intelligent than MSN or Biden, you're aware that no one anywhere in the world would be safe. But it looks like the crew at CNN don't share your good sense. And it looks like they're actually trying to whip up enough American hysteria so that they can get the USA involved in the conflict. It honestly makes me sick to see the sort of frenzy that has gripped some of these guys. And while they castigate Russian aggression, they seem only too happy to be appealing for American aggression. No, I've forgotten his name now. There's a well-fed bloke on CNN. I don't know his name, but he actually makes me feel ill, and I have to force myself to listen to him just to try and get what he thinks he's doing. What's up with American media? Why is this allowed to happen? And I want to tell you something else. The delirium of the MSM will not have escaped the attention of the Russian watchers. And although Biden's team keep patching up the gaffes he keeps making, if the MSM doesn't watch its mouth, sooner or later this whole thing is going to escalate out of the control even of the White House fire brigade. And that is a terrifying prospect. Well, that's my message for today. I'm Grannyopteryx. I am to be found on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute and Minds. I am at Grannyopteryx on Twitter, Gab and Parler, and I always upload there information about my latest videos. So if you subscribe to one of those, you won't miss my videos. All right, well, please click the like button, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you next time. Why not treat yourself or a favoured relative or friend to these magnificent examples of merch? The mugs and t-shirts come in the Grannyopteryx design or Grambo with a firearm or the more deadly knitting needles. Go to www.grannyopteryx.com and whatever platform you're watching this on, please click like, subscribe and share.